and welcome to the KU Alumni Weekend Cooking Demo. My name is Caitlin, and I am a registered dietitian. I graduated here with my master's back in 2019, and
hello, I'm Julia. I'm also a registered dietitian, and I graduated from KU in 2018 with my master's.
And so we are going to take you through a couple recipes today. They are great fall and wintertime recipes. They are packed with a lot of different flavors, but they're also very nutritious. So we will get started.
So the first recipe we have is a turkey sweet potato chili. And so here in this pot I have some olive oil, and it's already been heating, so it's warm. And I'll go ahead and add some onions. And we'll let that cook. And so this recipe is great for the fall and winter time. It'll taste great any time of year, but for some reason, chili always seems to taste a little bit better when it's a little cold outside. And so this is also a great recipe because, as you can see, I only have one pot, so it will cook everything in one pot. So limited dishes is always helpful. And then this recipe that we'll make is also great to freeze. So you could always try to double the recipe and freeze any extra. And it's just a really fast recipe. And so we're gonna cook the onions until they are translucent. And then once those are looking pretty good, I will go ahead and add the ground turkey. So we're using turkey for this recipe. So it's a great lean protein source. It'll have less saturated fat than, say, hamburger. You could also try like ground chicken if you wanted. Or you could even leave the turkey out altogether and make it a vegetarian option. And so I will let this brown. And while that's browning, I think Caitlin will give us some updates.
So there's some exciting things going on in the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics. We have recently started our Doctor of Clinical Nutrition program, which is surprisingly one of 3 in the country. And so along with that, we have also had our PhD program that has been approved for 10 years and going on. So that is very exciting. We have a lot of research going on, a lot of students going through the program. Along with our PhD students, we have also many master's students who have either started their master's or completed their dietetic internship. And as crazy as this past year has been with COVID restrictions, they have actually successfully gone through their internships, completed all their hours required, and they have still managed to have a very high pass rate on their board exams. So that is always exciting and feels like a great accomplishment for them. And then, of course, with all of our programs growing, we have also been talking to adding new faculty and staff to our team. They've been in talks with many other potential faculty members. So we look forward to having a growing team and seeing where the department goes. So we're excited.
Okay, so the turkey is brown. Now we can add some of the seasonings. And for this recipe, we have in here garlic powder, cumin, and chili powder, and then some cayenne pepper. And with the spices, you can also just replace that with a pre-made chili powder seasoning. Or you can also, if you want more or less spiciness to the chili, you can always increase or decrease the cayenne pepper. And you can always add that at the end too, once you taste it and you decide you want a little more kick to the recipe. So we'll add that and mix that together a little bit. And then we'll also add some sweet potatoes. So these are already diced for us. And so you'll see the sweet potatoes give us some good beta carotene. That's actually what gives the sweet potatoes the orange color. And then we have some black beans that we'll add. And with this, you can always add more or less. So again, it's a really versatile recipe. You can kind of make it your own. You could also try different types of beans, like kidney or pinto beans. And if you decide to leave the turkey out, you could always add more beans. And then we can also add some tomato sauce. And again, with this, you can add more or less, kind of depending on your preference. And we have some diced tomatoes. And so we're just using canned for this recipe. But if you happen to be making this recipe in the summer, you can always use, if you like grow tomatoes, you can always use your tomatoes straight from the garden. And then with the tomatoes, we are getting lycopene, and then we're also getting some beta carotene as well. And then we have chicken broth that we'll add. You can also add water. And again, with this, you can add more or less, depending on if you prefer a thicker or thinner chili. It's kind of up to you. And so we'll mix all that together. And again, you're also getting good fiber from this recipe. And it's just a really great versatile recipe. And then we'll let this cook for about 30 minutes. And you want to cook it until the sweet potatoes are soft, and you can just test that by piercing them with a fork.
The big debate in my house is always, what do you serve chili with? My family says that you serve it with just crackers or cinnamon rolls is the big debate. Or I personally like to have my chili with cornbread. So it's a long time debate. We can't agree on it.
And so while this cooks, we will go on to the next recipe, which is a kale salad recipe.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the kale crunch salad. I know what you're thinking, dietitians having a kale salad, but hear me out on this. It is a great salad with a lot of good flavors. So starting with the kale, I know on the recipe we listed the Lacino or the dinosaur kale. I personally have some trouble finding that in the store at times, and so if you just find the curly kale, that works perfectly fine. Just a little note on prepping kale, you will see that it has a very hard stem in the center. So to remove that, you just kind of have to pull the leaves off of it. You can cut them off if you like. You will put them on your cutting board, and then you just have to chop them up real small. And so I have already done that. We just chopped it up. We're going to add that to our bowl. And if you further want to kind of work the kale to make it a little easier to eat, since it is a raw, tough green, if you've ever heard of massaging kale, it is exactly what it sounds like. You just kind of crunch the leaves together with your fingers. Of course, wash your hands before, especially if you are serving this to others. And so you just work the kale, and all you're doing with this is physically breaking down the leaves, and so that they're a little bit easier to eat, a little bit easier to digest. And you just do this for a couple minutes. Once you get a very dark green look to the leaves, you will know that they are pretty good. So we have that ready. We have our bowl. I'm gonna set that to the side, and we are gonna start on our dressing, because we can make this and then kind of set it to the side. And so we have our first healthy fat that goes in this recipe. We have just some olive oil. We are going to add some minced garlic and shallot. If you would like to use just one or the other, then that is fine. We have some Dijon mustard. And then we have some fresh lemon juice. If you would prefer to use just the bottled lemon juice, that's more than fine. And so we have our lemon juice there. You just have to mix this up really well with a spoon or a whisk. And we are going to set that aside until we're ready to dress the salad. So with our kale, next we have Brussels sprouts. If you have never tried Brussels sprouts raw before, they are actually really good when you slice them up really thin. And so we just had to cut off the kind of stem end of the Brussels sprouts. You slice them in half, and then from there you can just chop them up and thinly slice them. So we are going to add our Brussels sprouts to the salad. And then we have some thinly sliced apple. So we're using a tart apple here. So it's a little sweet, little tart. And we just kind of thinly slice them. And we're just gonna add that apple. I believe for this one we used a pink lady apple, but any other tart one like a green tart apple would work just fine. Next we have, I kind of cheated and used the grated Parmesan cheese, but it is really good when you grate it yourself and add it. So we are going to add the Parmesan cheese. I might be doing this a little out of order, but that's okay. And then we also have the nuts or seeds. We have sunflower seeds on the actual recipe, but depending on what you can find in your store, pepitas work perfect. Here today I have pecans, walnuts work great. So we're going to add those pecans. And then in my dressing, I realized I forgot, of course, season it with a little salt and pepper. And then when you are ready to serve the salad, we're gonna make sure our dressing is still mixed up nice and good. And just pour it right over the dressing. And so you'll notice that this salad has a lot of different flavors in it, but of course, being a dietitian, we're thinking of the nutrition. So between the kale and the Brussels sprouts, those fall in the family that are called cruciferous vegetables. Those have a lot of they have protective nutrients in them that have seen to protect against many different cancers. There, I got it out. So we have the apples, lots of vitamins and minerals in there. We have healthy fat sources between the pecans, the olive oil. We have alliums in there from our garlic and garlic and shallots. And so, of course, it does have a bunch of different vitamins, minerals, and a whole lot of fiber in this recipe between the vegetables and the apples and the nuts. So we have our salad. That didn't take very long to throw together, and the flavor is really great there. So we're gonna check on our chili and see if that's about ready. Julia is gonna tell us a little bit about some of our studies going on right now.
So I want to talk about 3 specific studies that we are currently enrolling. The first one is called NICE, which stands for Nutrition Interventions for Cognitive Enhancement. And that one is looking at a Mediterranean and a low-fat eating pattern and the effects on brain health over the course of a year. And that is for cognitively normal older adults over the age of 65 who live in the Kansas City metro area. The next one is called TDAD. That is investigating a ketogenic or a high-fat eating pattern or a heart-healthy eating pattern and the effects on brain health over 3 months. That one is for older adults with very mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease and who also have a dedicated study partner to help them throughout the study. And finally, we have EGG. That one is looking at dietary choline found in eggs and if eating the different amounts of choline can affect the brain choline status and how those might affect cognitive scores. That one, there are only 2 appointments. One of those appointments includes an MRI. And if you would like more information about either any of these studies, we will link some more information in the video.
It looks like our meal is all ready to eat, and I am excited for this fall time meal. Thank you for cooking with us today. Let us know if you happen to try the recipes. If you have any questions at all about the recipes or any alterations, if you have any questions about what's going on in the nutrition and dietetics department, or about any studies that are going on, we will link some contact information, and let us know, and have a great rest of your alumni weekend.